A new report out by the government shows that 50 million people in the U.S. aren't always sure if they're going to be able to afford their next meal or even where it's coming from. According to Map the Meal Gap by Feeding America, 15% suffered food insecurity at some time during 2009, or they couldn't get enough money in order to be able to afford food. The report uses food insecurity data gathered by the United States Department of Agriculture. Now, the county with the highest rate of food insecurity was Wilcox County in Alabama, in southwestern Alabama, where 37% of the population suffered from food insecurity. Yet, interestingly, 41% of the population suffers from obesity at the same time. Keith Ayub, an associate professor of pediatrics at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, explains why this is not really unexpected. If people are food insecure, they can often place a priority on obtaining as much food as possible for the cheapest price. Now, many experts also quoted in the study and in the scientific community do agree with this statement. Basically, what they're doing, without acknowledging it or maybe even realizing it, is one of the absurd contradictions of capitalism. And as Marx pointed out, and every Marxist since then has pointed out, capitalism, like all systems, is a series of contradictions. This is the richest country in the world, the country with the greatest access to resources, including food, and which wastes more food than any other country in the world. Yet, there is a tremendous amount of food insecurity. And with all this food insecurity, there's such a high rate of obesity at the same time. The reason for this is absolutely simple and is completely a reflection of the capitalist system. By immediate economic need, people buy the cheapest food possible in order to make sure that it's there. However, this food is the cheapest food because of the manner in which it's produced, the most cost-effective manner in which it's produced, which means all the chemicals, which means all the preservatives, which means all the high fructose corn syrup and all the unhealthy things that makes cheap food so cheap. If you don't have the money, you have to buy the cheapest food. The cheapest food is made in the cheapest way. The cheapest way is the most unhealthy way. This is a contradiction of capitalism. The richest country in the world, by necessity, has to buy food that is unhealthy for it in order to survive. So the ridiculousness of this is that the richest country in the world is having hunger and obesity. The country with the greatest access to resources that should make both of these things non-existent. So if it's this bad here, imagine how it is in the third world. I mean, there are other first world countries that don't have as high a food insecurity and don't have anywhere near the obesity rate that the United States does. In Western Europe, for example, but what are they? They're social democracies. They're more heavily towards socialism. And we should not be surprised at the fact that those are healthier societies. Because they are the ones that place a priority on things like that, that place a priority on human need, not human greed. So it should be completely unsurprising that that would happen. This is a system, this is a problem that can clearly only be cured by socialism, or at least something very close to socialism. Understand this when you're trying to understand contradiction. The richest country in the world with the greatest access to food resources, among many other resources, is both suffering from food insecurity and obesity at the same time. This is a tremendous contradiction.